Hey there, Cybercrime Junkies. Got a question that keeps you up at night, or ever wish you could hear from a specific guest, or have a true cybercrime story you want us to investigate? You can now text our studio directly at 904-867-4466. Don't be a stranger. Text us at 904-867-4466. Don't miss the chance to be part of the conversation. Text us direct at 904-867-4466. Hey, Cybercrime Junkies, it's me, Dean. Every now and then we reach a crossroads when we come upon content and meet people that tie other things that we've all been talking about together. Like when we think of hackers, threat actors, the ones that want to do harm to you, your family, or your organization. How can they even succeed? How is it that they get this leverage over us? Well, as it turns out, at the end of the day, it's about control. They can control what other people think about you. They can control what other people think about your organization. It can ruin a business, and it can change and alter the long-term trajectory of the opinions of formerly loyal friends and loyal customers. It's time to learn how to take that control back. So today we're going to explore media relations' effect on cybersecurity. From security researchers, bloggers, newspapers, to TV news, data breaches, as we all know, are big business and big news. TV print publications, social media, press coverage, news releases, blogs, and more. It's all of those things that culminate into one long-term, bigger-than-life entity. Your brand, whether it's your personal brand or your organization's brand. All of that is based on what people think about you. Today, we're going to go straight at that topic. It's not going to be what you think. We're going to sit down with the CEO and president of a leading woman-owned national public relations firm, Light Years Ahead Media, and she has seen it all. She and her team have been involved with celebrities all across the world, to front page cosmetic brands, to building authenticity for individual subject matter experts and their reputations. She's seen how the media works, and this is your inside access to that world. We're going to discuss how social media affects cybersecurity, why media relations are important for data breach planning, and we're going to get down to the heart of it. This is the story of Megan Bennett and the media relations effect on cybersecurity. Come join us as we dive deeper behind the scenes of security and cybercrime today, interviewing top technology leaders from around the world and sharing true cybercrime stories to raise awareness. From the creators of Vigilance, the newest global technology newsletter, translating cyber news into business language we all understand. So please help us keep this going by subscribing for free to our YouTube channel and downloading our podcast episodes on Apple and Spotify so we can continue to bring you more of what matters. This is Cybercrime Junkies, and now the show. All right. Well, welcome everybody to Cybercrime Junkies. I am your host, David Morrow, and today we're going to be discussing something that is kind of new for the podcast, which is really good, and it's about public relations, PR, and we have a consummate professional, Megan Bennett, with Light Years Ahead Public Relations. She is the president, and it's got a phenomenal reputation. Megan, welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much for having me on, David. I'm really excited to be here.
No, I'm really glad to have this discussion because, when we think about cybersecurity, we think about protecting organizations' brands. And every organization, would you agree, has a brand. Whether they do much with it and they develop it is another discussion. But every organization has a brand, right?
Yes.
The reason the PR aspect is so interesting to those in cybersecurity is there's so many hidden elements when data breaches happen, and how brands are developed and nurtured, and how a data breach can ultimately harm those. So,
yeah.
For the listeners, tell us about your background. Tell us about Light Years Ahead PR, and what are you guys all about?
Yeah, so I have actually been a publicist with Light Years Ahead for over 22 years now. It was my second job out of college. I did some internships with publicity in entertainment. And through that, I realized that I was really interested more on the product expert services side rather than celebrities. And so I just became very passionate after doing it, even for a few weeks, and realized how much I loved helping brands, experts, services grow to become household names. And that's what I do through public relations. So really, on a day-to-day basis, I'm pitching different services and brands and products to the media, to the movers and shakers in TV, digital, print, to editors and producers, and spreading the word about the brand so that they try it or, do an interview with an expert in a way that it's not biased. They're coming in without any, pre-notions on the product. They test the product or the service, and then they cover it editorially with their own opinion in a positive way. And usually if it's negative, they don't usually do a review, but it's a way to get third-party endorsement from the people that matter, which is the media, without paying for it like you would for an ad. So really all that happens is my clients pay my agency to pitch them to the media, and we just do extensive follow-up until the media covers it in, a third-party editorial way, and then that helps build brand awareness. It's the same thing for cybersecurity.
That's a really interesting. Yeah, that's a really interesting approach, right? Because then they're coming across as subject matter experts, and it gives credibility, true brand authenticity, doesn't it?
Exactly. So we could take somebody that has never had any publicity before that nobody knows and build them into a well-known, recognized expert through our PR efforts because we know what we're doing. As long as the person has a story and really knows what they're talking about too. I mean, the expert has to sell themselves, but we're here to help.
Yeah. And so how does this, first, Light Years Ahead, what can you tell us about that? That PR agency's been around for a while, right?
Yes, it's been around for over 22 years. And I actually started working for the original founder, Betty Light. That's why it's called Light Years Ahead. And she hired me fresh out of college. And I worked for her for years. And then I moved out of her office, moved to Kansas City, opened up an office here. And then almost 4 years ago, my business partner and I, we bought Betty out, and now we're running the company. And so we do everything from technology to lifestyle to beauty to health, wellness, fitness, you name it. We'll represent you or your products if there is any kind of hook. And if there's not a hook, we can usually find a way to spin it. So that's what we do.
In true PR fashion, right?
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. That's great. So how does this relate to what's your experience been in the cybersecurity realm?
Yeah, well, it does actually relate to this because I was on a podcast a couple of years ago and somebody had listened, and he was a top cybersecurity expert for like over 30 years with IBM. He reached out to us over a year ago and said, I want to start promoting myself and my services. Can you help me? So that's how we got into cybersecurity, and we started pitching him and got him some good coverage. And then he came back a year later because he wanted TV coverage. And we got him on, I think, like 6 different TV segments within 6 weeks that were all PR, us pitching him going on. We didn't have to pay anything to get him on there. And so now I really understand the world of cybersecurity as well, and understand that it trickles into every single type of brand you really could imagine.
Because it's related to every single brand. Because every single brand
is
an organization built up of people. People use technology. Boom. There's the connection.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Oh, phenomenal. And I believe you were talking about my friend John Young,
Yes, he is the man, and he
He's
is
a great
almost
man.
a mentor to me as well because of everything he's taught me about cybersecurity. So we worked with him, and it really opened up a lot of doors into that world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really remarkable. I just think there's been so much the industry as a whole, the United States is getting pummeled in cybercrime, right? And
yes.
it's just a lot of, it goes hand in hand. There's other countries that have more privacy regulation because there's not as much freedom. But with that freedom here in America, you have a lot of really bad habits, and people are just getting by using their own poor cyber hygiene or thinking it's not important, or I'm in a rural location or a suburban location, or I'm a small organization. Why do they want me? They do, right? And all of that data is extremely valuable on the dark web. And it really goes hand in hand. So so walk us through what are some of your experiences about how brands are grown?
So I would say that, in order to grow your brand, you have to have the motivation and the funds to invest in, if you can't do it yourself internally, because a lot of people decide, okay, I have the passion, I have the time, this is my brand, I'm going to do it all myself, which can be really hard too, because not everybody is
write a book.
Yeah, not everybody's an expert in everything.
Yeah, you'd have to travel the world promoting that and doing everything, and then it's not really scalable, right? It's only being effective when you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to something happening while you're sleeping and through the efforts of others.
Yeah, and I feel like you have to have all of your ducks in a row before you're ready to make a decision to really elevate your marketing needs and your brand. Now, if you have a small budget, the best bang for your buck is PR, because you might pay People Magazine, I don't know, $30,000 for one print ad that might get you nothing, no sales, nothing. You might pay a PR firm $4,000 for 1 month for them to get you into multiple 10, 15 write-ups in different editorial opportunities. That's going to give you the brand credibility. So when people read the article, they're going to know they didn't pay for this. This was because an editor wanted to write about me. So that's kind of where we come in. And we always advise that brands don't take on PR until they have a developed website that is ready to go. And if you're trying to sell a product, it should be ready for purchase, easily available to get, because you don't want to run before you can walk. And so, you need a good website. And if you have the funds, it's really important to do PR and social media together, because you can use the PR to leverage the social media and vice versa. Like if we get a really good PR placement, our clients then post it on their Instagram and Facebook. Sometimes they do ads just to elevate that.
Right, because they're published in a leading publication, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're being featured on television. They're able to really promote that brand, and it's more authentic, isn't it?
It's way more authentic, because with PR, it's like you're not forcing anybody to do anything. You're not paying for this coverage. You're reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, would you be interested? And you're selling the story. And then if they take it, that's on them. So really it looks so good for a brand to be covered. And then the other thing that it does is when you get good public relations, it helps boost your SEO organically, which is way more powerful than trying to pay for SEO. And I've talked to so many different SEO experts, and they all say the same thing, that organic PR is what's going to put you to the top. So, for example, you have something bad happen in your reputation. You're a cybersecurity expert. You got some negative...
Or you're a company that gets breached, right?
You get breached. Something bad, they're upset.
Your customers have to deal with identity theft, discrimination. Your own company has SEO harm, reputational damage, hiring practice problems now because of your data breach.
What happened?
Vendor relations. Yeah, it's a PR nightmare.
It's a nightmare. And so some clients have hired us, even doctors, saying, I've had some bad reviews with the medical board. And whenever anybody Googles my name, that's the first thing that pops up. Same with cybersecurity issues. Our job then is to get positive public relations about your brand. Forget the
And
negative
make it
stuff.
organic.
Let's
so that
spin
that's
it.
at the top of the SEO.
Exactly.
Right? And pushes the
Exactly.
bad stuff down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the
that's
more of
really
those that
good.
you get, the better. It just pushes it down to the bottom of the page.
Well, that's really interesting. And one thing, and I don't know whether you have experience in this, but this is one thing that we talk about incident response planning a lot, because as we were all kids, right? We all had fire drills as a kid, right? We'd all like line up at school, and you would do that because otherwise on the day of a breach, people could die. And and yet we spend our lives cultivating and building these brands. And then we don't practice for today's type of fire drill. And that is a data breach, right? They don't know exactly if ransomware shuts down our organization, who does what, when, where do we go, what do we do? Yeah. And they don't practice it in a tabletop exercise, which is like a real life simulation where you actually go do it, right? And that's a fire drill. But we all did it as a kid, but we won't do it as an adult, even though we spend so much more time cultivating this brand in our adult lives than we ever did at school as a kid. So it's one of the things. And to me, I think PR needs to be engaged in those incident response plans, right? When there's a breach, how do we handle PR? Like, how do we handle, because PR, as you've just described it, it's not about advertising. It's about communication and messaging and authenticity.
Exactly.
Right? And so how are we going to communicate effectively and properly with a PR person over our shoulders, right? So that we can notify law enforcement, notify our customers that their private information has been breached, right? Notify and deal with our vendors. Do all of that stuff effectively. I think PR needs to be part of those. It just seems, and I know in some instances they are, but so few organizations are actually doing the incident response planning. What we hear a lot of times is, well, I do my disaster recovery plan. And I'm like, no, like it's not, we're not talking about a flood or a fire or a power outage, right? We're talking about a data breach. And that incident response planning, I really think PR has a phenomenal role in that.
Yeah. It does,
so
because
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because that really helps to build your brand credibility back up. If you've been hit low, that's the way to just like get back up to the surface and prove your credibility again. Absolutely.
So, speaking of brands and entrepreneurship, what was it like starting your own, buying Mrs. Light out and starting your own business?
It was seamless. It was easy. Oh. I mean, I have been doing this for so long. And then my business partner and I have been working together for, I think, 10 years along with Betty. And so we kind of had this planned out, and I'd already been doing everything that I was doing once.
The operational.
Yes.
The P&L,
I'd already been doing
all
it.
of that. You've already been doing it.
So it was a real seamless transition. And it kind of happened right before 2020 hit too. And we were already I've been working out of a home office for years. So that didn't affect at all. No. It was just very seamless. It went very easily. And we still all, talk all the time. And it was just a dream of how you could go through a transition. Because sometimes I know that doesn't happen.
No. No, and a lot of times people are working for a larger organization and they've never experienced entrepreneurship. Like, I did it back in the 90s, and when you first do it, it's like a free fall feeling. It's very freeing, and you're very excited about it, and then it's very anxiety.
It's like, wait, this is all on me now. This is all on me.
Right.
But it's good too, because it makes you feel capable. And I always feel like, all right, it's my job. I got to take matters into my own hands and handle this. And it's empowering at the same time. So
yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the challenges that people see in building up their own PR, or some of the pitfalls that you can advise people?
Yeah, I would say number one, do not start PR until you are completely have a website up that is done, that is seamless, because that's the first place that we're going to send the media is to your website to look at you. And if that doesn't look good, then it's not going to be a good representation of who you are. So don't start until you're buttoned up. That doesn't mean that you have to have hundreds of customers, that you have to be well known. No, we can take somebody that nobody's heard of and get them there, but you just have to have your like behind the scene ducks in a row. So that's number one. Number two, you've got to have a really good, concise messaging and elevator pitch that we can then hone in on and take and pitch to the media. So if you don't have that hook about yourself, we will help you find it. That's kind of like what we do. I would say the other thing is to listen to customers. If you have a product or service where you're getting negative feedback and people are telling you and friends and family are telling you that there's issues, listen.
There's a reason for it.
There's a reason.
So
We're not telling you this to be assholes. We're telling you this because we want to help you. And the clients of mine that take the criticism and they use it, their brands only get better.
Absolutely.
And same with the media. Sometimes I get media feedback that's like, you know what, this is too hard to use. And I always tell the client so that they can either fix it or they decide not to. But, those things are very important. The other thing I would say is in order to start PR, you have to be willing to kind of hand the reins over to somebody like us and let us take charge and do what we need to do. The clients that want to micromanage never work out because they want things to be exactly in their story the way that they want it. And it's just, they never end up happy because,
it needs to be authentic. It needs to be authentic media coverage. And so to do that, you need to relinquish control. But you can control yourself and your own expertise and how you present that. But then beyond that, you really can't control the form or the format.
Exactly. And I've had clients come in too with very unrealistic expectations. They're like, I want to be on the cover of Time magazine and Forbes. And I'm like, okay, great. But Forbes has 3,000 writers and most of them are paid. And it's not that big of a deal to get into Forbes anymore. It won't do anything for your brain, So it's just like, it's an education process to some of these people that you're not going to get on the cover of anything because most of the magazines are gone. And those cover stories are saved for celebrities. They just are.
Right.
So
that's exactly right. So share with us some of your highlights. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen in your two decades working with Light Years and some of your highlights?
Yeah, I guess challenges was, one example is we started with a nonprofit that nobody had ever heard of. And just trying to establish it and get it's a national nonprofit. It's called War Horses for Veterans. But when it first started, it was local and, on this farm. And so we figured out, how are we going to make this thing national? And so really the challenge is first, you got to get local exposure so that you have that local clip and footage that you can send to the national TV. And then you have to get a really compelling story that's going to be unlike anything else for national TV to cover. So a couple of years ago, we used that local footage and then we pitched a Veterans Day segment and got Vietnam vets that hadn't seen each other in years to go on the Today Show. And I think they made like $150,000 in donations. So that to me was the most rewarding thing.
Oh, yeah.
Working with the nonprofits has always been extremely rewarding. Another challenge we had is we started with a company a couple of years ago. It was small. It was a Wagyu beef company founded by a veteran in Missouri. Nobody knew who they were. We started reaching out to national media and getting samples of this Wagyu beef out. Got a bite from Food and Wine, sent samples. Then they wrote back and said, sorry, the samples were stuck in the mailroom. They spoiled. We can't use them. And it's perishables. Can you send more? And the client was like, this is really expensive. Are you sure we should do this? And I said, yes, it's Food and Wine. Well, a couple months later, he calls me and he said, something's happening. We're making a bunch of sales. And I said, I bet it's Food and Wine. I looked online. They were voted the best Wagyu hot dog of the year. And they made over $250,000 in sales from this one article. So that's that is a PR dream.
It's the long-term play that PR has. Right?
Yes,
it's
totally.
That element of authenticity.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine setting yourself apart from the competition because your organization is always secure, always available, and always ahead of the curve. That's NetGain Technologies, your total one source for cybersecurity, IT support, and technology planning. Picture picking up the phone and having decades of technology and cybersecurity expertise on the other end, like a bat phone, but with a team of specialists ready to make your business faster, easier, and more profitable. Since 1984, NetGain Technologies has designed, built, and implemented customized technology solutions for businesses of all kinds. They offer a clear roadmap and security plan to keep threats at bay, all at a predictable, affordable monthly cost. NetGain Technologies supports organizations across the United States, providing the benefits of a fully staffed in-house IT department and security team at a fraction of the cost. Get peace of mind. Get competitive. Get NetGain. Contact NetGain today at 844-777-6278 or reach out online at netgainit.com. That's netgainit.com and get ahead of your competition today.
It is. And, I would say the biggest challenge for us is communication to our clients, which we tell them over and over again. If you are looking for ROI, if you are looking for sales and you want guaranteed sales, do not use us for this. We cannot guarantee anything. I cannot guarantee.
Because think of what you're doing for them. You're giving them brand authenticity.
That's it.
For them to be subject matter experts with a bigger audience. Now, how well they do and how well that converts into sales is beyond your control.
Totally. Like I've had clients on the Today Show before that are brands, and maybe they get 2 or 3 sales, and then other ones that get, $20,000 worth of sales. It depends on what the product is, who's representing them on air,
right,
who's watching, and who wants to buy. And unfortunately, the only thing we have control over is that we will build brand awareness for you. They will see you out there, but we cannot guarantee. And I think if clients and brands and experts went into public relations with that mindset, understanding they are only using you to help your reputation, to build brand awareness, then the clients would be much happier. But we always lay that out from the beginning. And still, even after we are very hard pressed to tell the clients, once in a while, we still get those clients that after a few months, well, I'm not seeing any sales. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not why we're working for you. Right. I mean, that's an added benefit, which can totally happen, but it's just nothing that we can guarantee.
Well, and then you have to have a look in the mirror too, right? Like if you're on the Today Show or Good Morning America and you're only making a couple sales, you have the attention you need, right? Yeah. If that's not converting, then it's either the message or it's the product or it's the timing.
Yeah.
Right? Like it could be
the timing.
Host of market factors that are beyond everybody's control.
Yep.
But I mean, if you have I know organizations that will publish and do things and they get a ton of sales because what they're selling has such value and they're looking at the timeliness of it, the relevance, etc. Right?
Yes, totally.
So yeah, that's so interesting. And so Light Years Ahead is a woman-owned PR firm. So Are you guys organized like that? Are you organized as a WBE?
I mean, it just happened that way. But yeah, we are all women-owned. It's my business partner and me, and then we have 2 other women that work for us. One's based here in Kansas City with me. My business partner is in Brooklyn, and our writer is in Fort Worth. So we're all over the country. We have our fingers on the pulse of everything that's going on locally and nationally, and it's been advantageous to us to have us across the country rather than in one spot, because we really focus on national, but we can totally do local PR as well. So it's
absolutely. And where was Betty located? Was she located in Los Angeles?
Los Angeles, yeah.
So when you first went to work with her, you were in LA.
Yeah, I lived in LA for 10 years and worked there. And then
how is PR in LA? I would think that is a tough market.
It was, but it wasn't, because we were doing nationals. So it was us dealing with clients that weren't really based in, some of them were in LA, but even the ones in LA, we were doing more of a national focus. So it wasn't Now, interestingly enough, we do have a couple clients that really are Los Angeles, and we are just doing local for some of these clients in Los Angeles. But that's a pretty easy market compared to some of the other ones. I mean, some of the markets are tough.
Taylor and Kim Kardashian build their brand? Is that what it is?
Yeah, of course.
They're like, they don't have enough they don't have enough airplay. So we're just trying to get people to pay attention to these two ladies.
I know.
They just
and I live in Kansas City, so if you want to talk about Taylor, that's everywhere. So,
well, I'll tell you, like nothing has gotten my daughter to come watch football with me more than having Taylor Swift on watching Travis play. It's been wonderful.
Oh yeah, you and everybody else. It's crazy.
I know. It's phenomenal. Yeah, we have our team. We're a national team, but our team has a lot of ties and a lot of members right there in Kansas City. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So how can people get in touch with you? Organizations, we have a lot of business owners, executives, leaders of brands. We'll have links to Light Years Ahead PR in the show notes, but how can they get in touch with you?
You can actually just email me directly. It's Megan, MEGAN, at lightyearsahead.com. And
MEGAN at lightyears.com. That's pretty cool.
At lightyearsahead.com. So MEGAN at lightyearsahead.com. It's okay.
I will put it up on the video here. So that way my words won't mess it up.
Perfect. So and anytime I'm happy to give advice or help anybody in any way that I can.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. And it was interesting because several months back, I started seeing John Young everywhere. He was like on TV everywhere. He was writing, he was being published. I was like, I've been his friend for a number of years. I was like, yeah, this is great, man. How is that happening? And it's great to see. And I didn't even know that you were involved with him. And then you and I met, and we were talking, and you were like, yeah, I just helped somebody in cybersecurity. I'm like, really? So I was connecting the dots in my own mind.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I'm glad we connected through it. So
yeah, that's great. So what's on the horizon for Light Years Ahead? What's coming up for you guys?
Coming up is just taking on more clients. We are looking for all sorts of new business. Would love to do cybersecurity stuff. Nothing really. It's just the usual pitching and smiling and dialing and reaching out to the media and trying to help more and more people. I would say the more people that I can help to turn their small business into a household name, the better. So
yeah, absolutely. And share with the ladies before as we wrap up. But share with the listeners kind of what are some of the outlets that you've placed people in.
Everything.
Because we've mentioned Good Morning America, we've mentioned certain publications, but share some of those because some of those were pretty big names, and I'm sure some of them are industry specific also.
Yeah, it depends. Like if you're in an industry specific, then we'll work on that. But I mean, everything from the Today Show to Good Morning America to Pop Sugar, Popular Science. We have done pretty Wired. We have gotten on Popular Mechanics, BuzzFeed. I could just go on and on because we have so many different types of products. But like, I mean, it's everything you could imagine: men's health, women's health. It's endless, and they're all pretty big ones. So we're very happy.
Well, that's great, and I love your approach because it's genuinely authentic, and it's genuinely lets people that have a good brand, have a good product, have a good service, kind of be in their niche and kind of be seen for that. So that's fantastic. So Megan Bennett from Light Years Ahead PR, thank you so much for joining us. This is phenomenal. This is really good insight, and I'm confident that as we draw more and more attention to your type of approach and engaging people like you in incident response planning, that it'll help secure organizations' brands as well.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks again.
And thanks for joining. All right. We'll have links to the links in the show notes to Light Years Ahead PR. So definitely check them out, or you can email Megan directly at megan@lightyearsahead.com. Thanks, everybody.